2006, the strategy and work plan for MFF was designed at that time. And the skeleton, if you like, of MFF are the 15 programs of work which guide all the actions and projects which we take. These are very well crafted. They sit on 3 pillars. The first is a knowledge pillar to build and utilize knowledge. The second is to strengthen empowerment. And the third is to enhance governance. But what was missing 4 years ago was any reference to climate change. It hadn't been overlooked, it just was not explicitly stated within the design of the MFF work plan. Program of work number 9 does talk of strengthening the resilience of coastal communities against natural disasters. But that was the closest we got at that time to appreciating the importance of climate change to MFF and coastal governance, coastal communities in general. And as we all know, over the last 2 to 3 years, climate change, particularly adaptation needs, have become dramatic in our thinking and at the forefront of our strategic planning. So back in 2008, we decided that rather than add a 16th program of work, which would somehow isolate climate change, we would instead integrate climate change, particularly adaptation, into all the thematic programs of work already designed for MFF. And I think that was absolutely the right decision. Since then, we've also integrated gender for the same reason. So in 2008, UNEP very kindly and very positively took forward the daunting task of helping MFF to develop guidelines as to how we should effectively integrate climate change considerations into MFF, and particularly into our projects which are at the coastal zone level, working directly with coastal communities. So UNEP provided several consultants and a lot of staff time to help the MFF Secretariat, where I'm based, to develop the guidelines that are before you today. And they consist of 2 main parts. There is a 4-step climate proofing tool, the guide itself, which is primarily intended for project development. It takes the proposers of a project through a very simple 4-step guide to set the context of their project with relation to climate change. What are the expected impacts from climate change going to be within the overall location, the situation of the project? Secondly, to look more specifically at the impacts of climate change on the project itself. And thirdly, to look at possible adaptation responses to meet those expected impacts. And fourth, and very importantly, to include within the design of the project adequate resources to facilitate the adaptation responses that are identified. So the small booklet, which we have here as a pre-publication copy, is the 4-step guide to climate proofing a typical MFF project. And that is supported by the broader document, the reference, if you like, the reference tool, which gives project proponents and others interested in climate change considerations further information, references to other sources of knowledge, and particularly for each of the 15 programs of work under MFF, it specifies some of the particular climate change considerations that that individual program of work raises. So it's a very prescriptive, very easy to use guide, which together with the 4-step guide itself is intended to help improve the quality of all our future projects by ensuring that climate change considerations are well integrated into the overall design. We've also, of course, put this and other documents related to the climate proof tool on the MFF website, and those will be available to you. We would very much welcome your feedback, because this is a pre-publication copy only, and therefore there is still time to receive and benefit from your feedback before we finalize what we think is a very important guide to all our future project development work. I would also like to say that in using this guide, and Dr. Park himself mentioned this, it's the first step. We realize the guide alone is not going to solve the challenges of climate change adaptation. So we will support the countries of the MFF and the organizations we work with in terms of project development with adequate training and further advice to ensure that the guidelines are well used, and we also benefit from feedback from those who apply the guidelines in the development of their projects. You will see from our logos there that MFF is indeed a partnership. It's now 8 countries, and all the UN organizations there, with UNEP taking the lead in terms of developing this particular tool for us. But I would also like to thank our other partners there, and particularly Sweden. Sensor, Anders is there, because a lot of the financial support that has come to the MFF Secretariat to develop these kind of products and to apply them effectively within our countries has come from Sweden and from Norway. So I'd also like to thank Anders on behalf of SIDA for the financial contribution. So this is the beginning of the journey, as Dr. Park said. We welcome your feedback. We will continue to develop and improve the guidelines as feedback from you and the users of the guidelines at project level come in. And I'd finish simply by reminding you that tomorrow there is a focus event in the afternoon at 2:30, which is titled Climate Proofing Coastal Ecosystem-Based Investments, the Learning from MFF. So at that event tomorrow, we will share some of our experiences in implementing both projects and program level activities over the last 3 years. So thank you all very much, and please look on our website for these 2 documents and the other information that relates to the work that UNEP has very kindly supported to make these products possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, for the explanation on how we can use the guide. We have 5 minutes time if there is any burning question, like maybe 1 or 2 questions, because we understand the coastal ecosystem and coastal management. Maybe sometime we can think, why are we using this here? So if there is any question, burning question from the floor, there is 5 minutes time. Yes, please. If you can also tell your name and organization and country, thanks.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Gina Alhizera from MDGF 1656 in the Philippines. My question on the climate proof book, what is the MFF's modality in ensuring that the appropriate capacities are built to utilize the climate proofing guide and the reference book?
The guide is just the start, and we don't expect our member countries to be able to apply the guide without quite considerable assistance from the Secretariat. And our main modality, if you like, is in-country training. We have done a number of regional level training courses on project cycle management, which includes incorporation of guidelines into project design. We are now starting towards the end of this year going to repeat the training at the country level, and in the case of large countries like India and Indonesia, perhaps even at state or provincial level. But to basically bring those interested in applying the guidelines into the design of their projects, bring them together for a 1 or 2 day training workshop to ensure that they adequately understand the process that we expect them to follow. Now, we've tried them out already at a training course a couple of weeks ago in India, and we found that people didn't fully appreciate the integration process. They followed the steps, but they failed, I think, to adequately integrate the 4 steps into their project design. So I think we have a long way to go to teach our project proponents the integration process. It's not as simple as it may sound, but at least with the guides, we all start with the same reference tools. And so the training and other support that we'll give to our countries, I think, will now be standardized with the help of these guidebooks in a way that we couldn't do previously.
Okay. So in case our energies are going a bit down, as Don was saying, for more information and questions, there's going to be a focus event tomorrow, which is going to be specifically on coastal ecosystem-based adaptation. MFF is going to take the lead in the delivery of that focus event. So there is more time to discuss about that in that time. But now I think that it seems really that in this region there is plenty of examples that we can, as Salim was saying, we can really teach from the south, we can teach the north. So it's nice to bring a lot of initiatives that are happening here. So there is going to be another launch here before the cocktail reception. So if I may, I would like to invite Surendra Shrestha, the director of the UNEP Resource Mobilization and Special Initiatives, to provide us with information about the project Atmospheric Brown Cloud, ABC. So I apologize. I thought there's going to be a discussion, but I'm going to introduce both the presenters. So Surendra Shrestha, director of the UNEP.